We want to say that everybody keep telling we pay with tax, things going to be better. Pay your tax, things going to be better. And we keep paying tax and we're suffering and we're suffering and we're suffering. Put the best voices together and help us. This one. Better days are coming and they coming and they coming and they coming. Better days are coming. Children, stop your crying. Better days are coming. I don't want to hear that same song again. If I hear the same song, I might go insane. Because it's that small, the same thing I hear. That how we have a better day coming. But anyhow, that I look around, I see the old bull heading for destruction. People committing crimes that for the escape. So they're doing all that for the children. Better days are coming. He coming and he coming and he coming and I'm waiting. Better days are coming. Children dying. Children, stop you. What I say? Better. Sit down and wait and dare. $6 million for schools and 90 for bombs. 8 million for house and 60 for guns. That is the type of budget we're making. To get ready for this better days, we're coming. 18-year-old joining up military to kill 18-year-old that they never seen. That is the type of preparation we take to live in this beautiful province. Better days are coming. They coming and they coming and they coming and they coming. Better days are coming. I'm waiting. Dying. Better days. Sit down and wait, it's coming. But smokers on strike or workers don't school. So your children can get bus or go to school. The electric people cannot agree. So don't like for your child to cry for GC. 18-year-old joining up military to kill 18-year-old that they never see. That is the type of preparation they to live in this beautiful province. Better days are coming. Better days are coming. Children, stop your crying. Better days are coming. If a better world is their sole intention, I don't want it in words, I want it in action. My son must live in fear and no madman who could take up the gun and cause no destruction. Remember when this not cool and suckling would be revealed unto faith and suckling. Keep on lying and doing you do. One day the food go pick up with you. Better days are coming. I waited. Put the best voices together and help us. This one. Better days are coming and they coming and they coming and they coming. Better days are coming. Children, stop your crying. Better days are coming. I don't want to hear that same song again. If I hear the same song, I might go insane. Because it's that small, the same thing I hear. That's how we have a better day coming. But anyhow, that I look around, I see the old bull heading for destruction. People committing crimes that for the escape. So they're doing all that for the children. Better days are coming. He coming and children are waiting. Children dying. Children, stop you. What I say? Better. Sit down and wait and dare. $6 million for schools and 19 for bombs. 8 million for house and 16 for guns. That is the type of budget we're making. To get ready for this better days, we're coming. 18-year-old joining up military to kill 18-year-old that they never see. That is the type of preparation we take to live in this beautiful province. Better days are coming. They coming. I'm waiting. Dying. Better days. Sit down and wait, it's coming. Workers on strike, all workers down tools. So your children can get bus or go to school. The electric people cannot agree. So don't like for your child to cry for GC. 18-year-old joining up military to kill 18-year-old that they never see. That is the type of preparation they can live in this beautiful province. Better days are coming. Better days. Children, stop your crying. Better days are coming. If a better world is their sole intention, I don't want it in words, I want it in action. My son must live in fear and no madman who could take up the gun and cause no destruction. Remember when this love cool and suckling would be revealed unto faith and suckling. Keep on lying and doing you do what little food go pick up with you. Better days are coming. I waiting. We dying. Children, stop your crying. Really, that's the way you say. You wait, it's coming.
Yes, the black man himself, Black Stallion, Dr. Leroy Calise, and he's a real doctor. He write plenty dissertation, over 300 of them, Calypso dissertation. I just teach them. People just write book on them. He's a real doctor. Dr. Leroy Calise, the black man, Black Stallion. Better days are coming. Are you wait? Next year, we're going to get this. 2025, we're going to... Better days are coming. Are you wait. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101 on a Thursday evening, a Thursday night, a Thursday afternoon. Welcome to Politics 101. It's good to be alive. Our prayers are with the people down there in Florida, hit by another hurricane, second in 2 weeks. Oh boy. Global warming, those who said it's not real, it's real. Welcome to Politics 101. Our prayers go out to the people in Florida. Those of you who are joining us from Guyana, special welcome to you. It's been a lot of action today. I have had the time to go through everything fine. Today is my teaching day, so I was in the classroom all day today. And I just got out of classroom, hurried to get to do the show, and I see all the headlines tossing around, and people have been texting me and calling me. The president went today to the National Assembly and spoke to the National Assembly. Let's make a distinction here between the National Assembly and Parliament. At the National Assembly is when the members of the National Assembly are there when they meet, and members of the legislative branch. The Parliament is the president plus the National Assembly. There's a distinction, eh? You know, we do school here in this program. We use the two interchangeably, but they're not the same. The National Assembly is the legislative branch, what we call the parliamentarians, the 65 of them, and maybe the technocrats. The Parliament, like today you are Parliament, because it was the National Assembly plus the president. That is what it's called, Parliament. Just so a little bit of school in here tonight, right? So the president went today to talk to the National Assembly, address the National Assembly, and the opposition members of the National Assembly decide they're not going to go in, they're going to pick it outside. God bless them. You know what? They should be doing more of that. They should be doing more of that. They should select special times when they go to Parliament, because you have to attend Parliament. If you miss certain days in Parliament, you think, you go in, you mark your name, and you walk out. Really ain't got that place is not a place for them. So let's give them a big cheer for staying out today. Staying out. But the president went there and gave a campaign speech. And he promised that free university education going to start in January. That's a PNC idea. He promised he's going to give $200,000 to each household. That's a WPA idea. He promised this. He promised that. He promised that by the end of next year, no worker should be working for less than $100,000. Well, that is the opposition idea. PNC, ASC, WPA, we saying, you wait till next year and better days gonna come. Do it now. So the man went there and gave a campaign speech about these things that he will give. Brothers and sisters, comrades, all. In politics, sometimes you have to bear your chief. And we bear we chief. Be bearing we chief. The man went there, stole the PNC idea of free university education with a straight face. Now, I don't know whether he credited, because I didn't get a chance to listen to the speech. I don't know whether he said, well, we're going to implement this PNC idea. I doubt when he did that. I doubt when he talked about the $200,000 for each household, he credited WPA. I doubt it. I didn't listen to the speech. But if he did, I stand corrected. You see, some of we in the opposition, I noticed the AFC has taken the cash transfer and they call it their idea. When they talk about cash transfer, they don't say the WP idea. we support the WPA. They're throwing it out like it's their idea. Even today, we noticed the AFC said they disagree with the president $200,000 for each household. They want to give it to each citizen. No mention that this is the WPA idea. And all we are opposition comrades. That's something that we have to learn in politics. You all notice me on this program. I give credit to all the parties, including the PPP. I bring on AFC, I bring on PNC. I was watching Aubrey Norton on Sherrod last night or sometime. And Aubrey gave credit to the WPA. He said the WPA idea. The AFC don't do it, and I don't understand why. Especially since when Professor Thomas, on behalf of the WPA, first announced that idea in August of 2018 in Buxton. I was there on the stage. Brother Nigel Hughes was there, and Nigel disagreed with it. Later on, he embraced it. He has now embraced it. But, must give credit to the WPA, man. Say it's the WPA idea. Then take nothing, Nigel and AFC. Come on, man. I can understand Jack Dew and them not giving us credit. But come on, the AFC could give you credit and say it's a WPA idea. Norton does always say it's a WPA idea. He doesn't claim it as his idea. Or he doesn't talk about it without mentioning WPA. Give Jackie it. When we first announced that idea in August, the idea of cash transfer, when we first announced it in 2018, the PNC, led by David Granger, rejected it. We were part of the government. They rejected it. The AFC, in the person of Nigel Hughes, rejected it. Raphael Trotman, a few days later, embraced it. You have to give Raphael credit. So I just want to clear that up. We have to have a political culture where we credit people. This thing, we competing, but we can't compete in a way where we don't. And I hope Nigeria and the WPA and the AFC correct that. I hope they do it. You have to. I understand the PPP not giving us credit, because that's the PPP. But the AFC is a different. The AFC got more integrity, and they shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. Even if you gotta say it 100 times, say it, man, because it's the truth. Give Professor Thomas and the WPA the credit. All right. So Ali said that he's going to give $200,000 as a one-off payment to each household. All right. The household idea, it thief from the WPA. Because everybody, the AFC is saying give it to every person. I think the PNC is saying the same thing. WPA has always said give it to each household. Because if you give it to each household, you're not discriminating. You're not discriminating along racial lines. You're not discriminating again along class lines. And so we said give it to each household. So the PPP finally see the light. Because when the thing first come out, the PPP said no. Jack Dio said that the WPA's cash transfer was technically unsound. Then about 2 years later, he said, well, we're going to give it, but we're going to target it. We're going to give to this group and that group and so on. He rejected the household. Now they come around and say they will give it to each household. And they'll give 200,000 as a one-off. Now here is where we part company. Because we are saying, and we have said from the beginning, take 10% of the oil revenue, whatever that comes up to, 10% of the oil revenue, and whatever it comes up to, you give that to each household. And in 2018, Professor Thomas, on behalf of the WPA, calculated that by the time we start rolling, and we expected that by 2020, 2021, we should have been ready, and that by that time, given the oil, the amount of oil that we had there, he calculated that it could come up to about 5,000 US dollars, which is $1 million Guyana dollars. Recently, when he ran the numbers, he has come to the conclusion that as of now, it is going to be more than 500. 10% of what we're getting will be more than 500,000. So Jack Dio and Ali are now saying 200,000 as a one-off. WPA said 10%. And we feel that 10% is $5,000 and upwards. So we part company there. The second thing we part company, we are not talking about one-off. We are talking about every year. Every year. So there's no one-off. You see, when the PPP talk about one-off for 2025 is an election gimmick. We are not seeing cash transfer as an election gimmick. We are saying the cash transfer is something that must be done as a matter of principle. So, for us, it's not one-off. The other point that we part company with the PPP on this issue is that we don't believe the government should be sharing all this money like that. It must be enshrined in law. They must take a bill to Parliament, and Parliament agrees, take a bill to the National Assembly, and the National Assembly agrees that each year, 10% of what we earn should go to the people. So it would be by law, not at the government whims and fancy. So what the president presented today, the only thing he got right is that cash transfers should be given to each household. They got that right, and that's a victory for us. That's not for them. And not because he said we should say, we don't want it and attack it. No. That's a victory for us. First of all, it's a victory for the WPA. And I'll just wash them out and say what the WPA bring to the table. Well, we bring the most innovative proposal for the distribution of wealth to the table. Everybody disagreed with it at first. Granger said no. Our good friend Winston Jordan said no. Nigel Hughes said no. Anyhow, as time went by, they all came around and said yes. The PPP was the last holdout, and now they've said yes. What WPA bring to the table? It brings the most innovative policy initiative to come out of Guyana in the last decade as far as dealing with poverty. That's what the WPA bring to the table, and everybody has now agreed with us. I want you all to understand what I'm saying. We have to change this thing. So even if we go to a coalition and the WPA doesn't potentially bring 100,000 votes, it brings a proposal that will get us 100,000 votes. because all our supporters will be glad for a cash transfer of $500,000 or more. So we don't bring potentially 100,000 votes that we get the last time. What we do is that we influence people to vote for us because of a policy that we bring. Professor Clive Thomas laid out the WPA position a long time ago, 2018. And everybody said, it can't work, it can't this, it can't that. Today, the government which say it can, the party that say it can work, they are implementing it. They're not implementing it the right way, but they are about to implement it. They're being opportunistic about it, but they have to follow us. They have to follow us. Here is Professor Clive Thomas.
I think that we should recognize that we need to frame the debate about how we use the oil by trying to find a means by which we can ensure that the benefits of oil are felt directly to the population. I've done a lot of studies on poverty, and not only me, but many people around the world. There's a recent survey of why every study has been done between 2000 and 2015. There's also dedicated studies about the best ways to impact on poverty. And without any doubt, there is, and we can discuss it and debate it, the evidence supports the view that cash transfers to the public represent the single best means of doing it. We don't substitute the judgment of planners or politicians for the people's judgment. And people in the household, a packet of money, a set of money, and tell them to go and try to do what they can and make sure that you commit yourself to delivering that to them on a regular basis. So I believe that cash transfers of a proportion of the oil wealth is an absolute minimal necessity. If you calculated 750,000 people, maybe 160 to 170,000 households, probably that's what the figure might turn out to be. Giving each of them, let's say $1,000 US, let's say per year, is a pea drop in relationship to the oil that we generate. So we have to think of ways in which we engage the population, involve them directly in feeling that the benefit from oil is part of their existence. But I think the atmosphere that is growing now, the government and people are seeming to be afraid of talking about these things because they feel that somebody's going to come and say, you shouldn't waste resources. You can't give people money. They can spend it and buy rum and alcohol and outside. But people don't do that. All the studies show in the long run, people, particularly the women, decide on what the priorities are. And they tend to adjust their behavior and seek to develop their financial autonomy through this means. And they give some indicators here from the studies that have been done in education, health, economy, that's investment and savings, employment and empowerment. I showed what the studies show unmistakably. There are a lot of design issues that are involved in how you do this. I'm not going to say it's an easy thing to do because with a high level of migration and the migrant population, the diaspora, moving in and out of Ghana regularly, you need to ensure that the money is given to the people who are primarily resident here and who are most dependent on the next, would be most dependent on the benefits you want to give them from the oil, so that you have to design a program, and that will take enormous skill and effort. But I feel that's the way that we ought to go, so that people see the benefits of oil translated into cash that they have in their hand, and that they have the autonomy and the skills and the power to spend it, particularly the women folk. Thank you very much.
That was Professor Clive Thomas there, speaking at Moray House on the cash transfer and the need for it. Winston Jordan, who is on here tonight, said, David, get your facts straight. I said I was in favor of targeted cash transfer, not blanket cash transfer. And I stand by that. In addition, cash transfer per household has used its advantages. Only this morning, I recommended cash transfer of $100,000 for every adult Guyanese. Check CAMS TV this morning. Thanks, Winston, for that clarification, and you're correct. You're correct. You didn't dismiss it out of hand. But at the time when it first came out, you were more negative on it than positive. I think that's the point I was trying to make. And this is not about saying, I am glad that everybody has come around to recognizing cash transfers are important, whether it's targeted, whether it's direct, whether it's indirect, whether it's to the household or to the individual. We're going to work that out over time. But the principle of cash transfer, the principle that you put a lump sum of money in people's hand and they won't smoke it and drink it, that was the argument at the time. All right? And I'm glad. So, Winston, my apologies to you. Yes, you did say that you prefer cash transfer. But the point I was making, and I misspoke in trying to make that point, that there was more a negative response to it than a positive response when it first came out. Now, the PPP has now said cash transfer. The PPP has now said it will give $200,000 to each household. Each household. That's what the PPP is now saying. The PPP is going against its own principle. Its own principle. And it's been opportunistic. It's been opportunistic. Yes, we are glad they've come around, but they are being opportunistic. Opportunistic. The PPP is being opportunistic. There's the headline by none other than Mr. Jack Dio. WPA cash transfer proposal is technically unsound. Opposition leader Jack Dio. He did it. Look at that. Well, it's either orphan now disagreeing with Jack Dio, or Jack Dio changed his mind. Suddenly, this proposal is now technically sound. Jack Dio said this technically unsound. That's what he said when we came out with it. And now we embrace it and implementing it in one form. Not the form that we would like, but he's implementing it, which means, Jack Dio, you have to apologize to the WPA. You have to apologize to Thomas. You have to apologize to the Guyanese people. Or are you an orphan ready to join the WPA? You all said it was technically unsound. So you all are implementing a proposal now that is technically unsound. It's either that or you all now realize it's technically sound. So if you all now realize it's technically sound, say, Bharat Jagdeo, said that it was technically unsound, and now I changed my mind, And I realize it's technically sung. Sorry, Dr. Thomas. See, this is what I can't take with politics sometimes. I don't mind people changing their mind. I have changed my mind on many things. But when you change your mind, say you change your mind. And say to people who you the cuss down, beg pardon. I changed my mind and now agree with you all. Don't go to the National Assembly and put a proposal forward like if you always embrace it. You're scamping. That's what you're doing. You only come up with this proposal because of an election. So yes, you change your mind. But you're not changing your mind because you're principled. You're changing your mind opportunistically. Look, I ain't lying on Jack Dio. Look what he said there. He said WPA proposal is technically unsound. So it's an unsound proposal that Mr. Ali went to the National Assembly today and announced. You see, these people are scampish. They're scampish. They know all along that the cash transfer proposal is a song proposal. They know that all along. But because it comes from a party that is not their party, they run all over the place and say it's technically unsound. And now in an election year, they come and they say it's technically sound. We're going to implement it without admitting their errors and without apologizing to the people who they were cussing down as being technically unsound. As being technically unsound. These people are scams. That's what they are. They are scams. They are scams. What they are trying to do is to take somebody else's idea and to use it in an opportunistic way. As I said, I am glad that they've come around to recognizing that it is a sound proposal, technically sound. I am glad. But they must admit anyhow
money for every household. And this gentleman who says that is Professor Clive Thomas. Professor Clive Thomas, as you know, is quite a distinguished economist, and has written widely and is quite respected. But I don't share the view that he has shared. Professor Thomas, and you can't discount what he says because he's an advisor to the president. So it's highly likely that whatever he says may manifest itself in the form of a government policy shortly. Professor Thomas says that we should take the oil money that we get when the oil begins to flow, and we should put 5,000 US in an envelope and post it home to every Guyanese. Now, this is reflective of a mentality that believes in money, doling out money, a mentality that believes in a welfare system where people should go every month at certain government offices and line up for a check. Now, these are not policies that are new. These are policies that have been used in the world widely, even in the United States of America. And what the data shows is that policies of this nature develops a degree of dependency that destroys the human initiative. It destroys families. It destroys communities. It creates not only a sense of dependency, but it creates parasitism. It makes the human being into a parasite.
Disculpe, señorita. Protocolo, dice la vuelta.
Pero, ¿qué pasa?
Dice la vuelta, protocolo de la empresa.
Pero ocurre algo.
La vuelta.
All right, YouTube did a number on us there, but you all get the gist of what Mr. Nandalal just said there. He said cash transfer will destroy families. Oh my God, the PPP is about now to destroy families. The PPP is now about to destroy families. The PPP is now about to turn Guyanese into parasites. So says the Honorable Distinguished Scholar, Economist, Anil Nandlal. Anil, orphan is breaking the code. Orphan is now going to destroy families. Anil, go and Wally, you the Attorney General, and call the police to the charge for destruction of families. These blasted people. That's what the PPP said. Cash transfer will destroy family. Now me say so. Are you hear them there? Are you hear them? Ali didn't go today to the National Assembly and said my Attorney General once said that cash transfer will destroy families. And cash transfer will turn Guyanese into parasites. And my vice president once said that cash transfer is technically unsound. But today I stand there in the National Assembly rejecting their thesis. And I, Irfan Ali, am parting company with my Attorney General and my Vice President. No, he got it and announced this thing just like that. You all see the kind of people you all dealing with. You all see the kind of people that you all are dealing with. Some of you all, with your liquor self, just believe these people got you all interested. They don't. They don't. They don't. Now, let's get this straight. cash transfers in one form or the other is being used in many oil-rich countries around the world, including the capitalist United States. They take a certain amount of money every year and they give to the citizens for them to spend. In our case, WPA is saying take 10%. You can take the 90% and spend it on roads and infrastructure and all the other things that you need to spend it on. But take 10%, divide it up and give the people, let they spend it how they feel like spending it. It's been used all over the world, in most of the oil-rich nations, most of the petrol states. So that's the first thing we want to get out of the way. The second thing is that we can disagree on how it should be implemented. In fact, WPA still believes that you need to still do a feasibility study before this thing is implemented. The feasibility study will tell you how much should be given. It will tell you whether it should be direct cash transfer or indirect cash transfer. It will tell you whether targeted cash transfer or universal cash transfer. It will tell you whether it should be for household or for individuals. We still believe that you need to do a feasibility study. We still believe that you don't implement a policy off the top of your head. I don't know. I haven't listened to the gentleman's speech, so I don't know whether he said whether they do a feasibility study. I don't know. I doubt it. Because they're being opportunistic about this. So we can disagree on what form the thing should take. And Vincent Jordan is correct. We disagree on what form. We say household. And the reason we say each household is that we are cognizant that we live in a very divided society. And you want to find the best way for this thing not to become a bone of contention among the different racial groups, ethnic groups, social groups. That is why we go for household, because household, you're not discriminating. Each household is going to get it. And poor people need it more than rich people. So, but rich people who get it, it will be added to their income and they will have to pay tax on it. Poor people who income low, they would not have to pay tax or on most of it. So yes, if you go to household, the rich really don't need it. But when you give it to them, they will pay it back in taxes. Poor people will get it, poor people will have to pay taxes. But our main reason for the household is that we don't want Indian people to say this thing is discriminating in favor of black people, or black people say discriminating in favor of Amerindians, and vice versa and so on. Each household, whether you're African household, Indian household, Amerindian, Portuguese, what, you get it. So that is our thinking behind the household. We feel that it is the most non-discriminatory way to do it. Now, Clive Thomas admit in that clip that we played, it's not easy. Because as he said, people come and go, they migrate, and so on. You know, take somebody like myself. I live part of the year in Guyana. I live part of the year outside of Guyana. Should I get it? I have a home in Guyana. Should I get it? Should I get it as part of my household? I do have a household in Guyana, contrary to what a lot of people just run their mouth. Teacher John said, they got way by your mouth to run. I live part of the year in Guyana. I have a home in Guyana. Should I get it? These are challenges you have with the household thing. So we do agree that we will have to do studies, we will have to do and come up with the best formula. As I said, WPA says each household. The PPP is now saying each household. The PNC saying each individual. The FC saying each individual. Let's do a feasibility study and then tell us what is the best approach. What is the best approach? We think the best approach is the household, and I explain why. Now, let me get into the PPP story further. First of all, this is a victory for us on the opposition side. It is a victory for us on the opposition side. This is not a victory for the PPP. The PPP didn't do this because they believe in it. They do it because they recognize, first of all, that the vast majority of Guyanese embrace this, whether they're Indian, African, Amerindian, whether they're PPP supporter, they've come to realize that. That's the first thing. The second thing is that they want to use it as an electioneering tool. Well, if you're doing that, say that. Because I think that the opposition should use it also as an electioneering tool. Nothing is wrong in using it as an electioneering tool. Nothing is wrong, but you must agree, you must do it the proper way and do it in a principled way. And the PPP is not doing it in that way. Winston Jordan says, I agree, however, competitive poverty study and mapping are urgently needed alongside a feasibility study of UBI. Meanwhile, as it relates to the present announcement, you need to examine the mechanics of implementation to prevent discrimination and the pink slip fiasco that characterized. And I'm coming to that, Winston. I'm coming to that. Because the PPP can take a good thing and turn it into the worst thing in the world. Because this thing is not enshrined in law. He didn't go there today and say, I will send a bill to the National Assembly to enshrine this in law. You see, if you enshrine it in law, you can't discriminate in sharing it out. But because it is not enshrined in law, I bet me bottom dollar that they are going to discriminate when it comes to sharing it out. Here, I'm predicting now, plenty black families and Amerindian families and Indian families that don't support the PPP, bet me bottom dollar, they're going to be complaining that they ain't get the cash trap, the $200,000. I bet me bottom dollar. That's one. The next thing is this. They've already given, they call it cash grant. I don't like the term. They've already given certain cash grants. $250,000 to sugar workers, their supporters. They give to rice farmers, their supporters, mostly. They give to fishermen and fisherwomen, their supporters, mostly. So they've already given cash transfers to certain households that are their supporters. So those households that are now going to get this $200,000, this is a 4th dip and a 5th dip for some households. Some households got fisher people, they already collect. The same family household get sugar worker, they don't collect. Some get rice. So in a typical family, you may find they plant a little rice, somebody working the sugar estate, somebody in fishing. So they get for fishing, they get for rice, they get for sugar, and now they're going to get this household. They dip 4 times. So although this proposal is welcome, And it's a victory for us because we were always saying that is the way to go. They decided to go that way, but to leave it open for manipulation. They decide to go that way, but instead of giving $5,000 and more, they give $200,000 instead of giving $500,000. They haven't done a feasibility study that inform why is it 200,000 as opposed to 100,000 as Winston is saying, or 5,000 as C.Y. Thomas is saying, and the WPA. Where is the feasibility study? Where is the poverty study? So we are saying we must take a lap because we put a proposal on the table that we knew had merit, has merit, and people dance around. But eventually, over time, there seemed to be a consensus on it. The holdout was the PPP. The PPP now come on board, they come on board in a stink way. The only thing that is right about what he announced today is that they're going to give it to each household instead of walking around the place and give it to their supporters. That's the only thing that's right. The amount is wrong because they can't tell us how they arrive at that number. At least Guy Thomas said, oh, we arrive at this number. He looked at the projected revenue that we were going to get from oil, and he divided it among the households. The PPP has to tell us, and I'm sure they cannot tell us how they arrive at 200,000. How is it going to be implemented? Who can share it out? What guarantees that all of the households will get it? What constitutes a household? Do I qualify? I live in Guyana 4 to 5 months a year. Do I qualify? I don't think so. I don't think so. The PPP has to tell whether people like me qualify. We don't know. Are people going to fly in from Queens and Canada and come in and collect the cash transfer? Because a lot of people get a house in Guyana, they live in Canada, they live in America, and they get a house. Like me, they come home, spend the holiday. I stay. I spend more than holiday. So what constitutes a household? So, sisters and brothers, the news of today is that the PPP have to follow we. They must follow how we know. And it says, ideas matter. Ideas matter. 2018, WPA put that idea on the table. In 2024, the PPP finally said, it's a sound idea. They finally disagree with Jack Dew that is unsound. They finally disagree with Nandlal that it will destroy family. That chap is he's such a, I don't want to be unkind tonight. Imagine that chap sit there and say, cash transfer will destroy families. What is he talking about? Them is bright by, they go to school, they go to law school. So he's not a duncy. He's a bright by. He's a bright by. Well, them old people that say he gets stupid sense. So the PPP finally disagree with their attorney general. They disagree with their vice president. That is the good news. Orphan Ali is applying to join the WPA now, and maybe Jack Dew and them. No. I will stay where you're there. Don't come. Ideas matter. Now the opposition has to sit down. Now that the PPP has come out with this, the WPA, the PNC, and the AFC need to sit down I don't want to say what I want to say, yeah? The PPP start to campaign. There's a campaign speech the man give there. And he take we idea and put it in the campaign speech. He gonna give money free university. There's a PNC thing. There's PNC. There's PNC. Nobody should be earning less than 100. That's PNC. PNC said a long time. That's PNC idea. Cash transfer, WPA idea. I'm sure the FC got their ideas too. But what I'm saying, the opposition need to sit down and to pull the different approaches. As I said, WPA said 10% cash each household. Winston and the PNC are saying target it to it. Well, Winston is saying target it. Aubrey saying give it to each individual. Nigel is saying give it to each individual. Those are all the approaches. The economists from the three parties need to sit down. People like Jordan and Thomas and Elson Lowe and them need to sit down and work out we have to campaign on that. The PPP gonna campaign on it, and we side got to campaign on it. But we approach to it has to be drastically different from the PPP approach, and that is why I'm saying this thing about waiting 2 months before an election to announce a coalition is nonsense. And I say that with all due respect to Nigel, because I think Nigel is the hold-up. Aubrey already said he can win on his own, but he preferred to go with a team. Nigel is dancing. WPA said very clear that our first option is coalition, and our last resort is going on our own. Nigel is still dancing. And with all due respect to council, he's holding things up. Because the PPP already laid out what it is going to campaign on. And it is going to campaign on some of our ideas. And we need to get our act together and start campaigning. Not the WPA campaigning, saying out there, cash transfer to household, and then Aubrey said cash transfer to individual. And Nigel said cash transfer to individual. People will laugh. They say, look, they will fight Matty. We need to pull the proposals together into one proposal. This is where we are behind, comrades. We are behind. The PPP has started to campaign. And we are still, I love Nigel. I love Nigel and my friends in the AFC. But they're not listening to her. Listening to her, what you going to hear, what you want to know? What? You know it. What you listening to her? Guyanese poor people catching their ass. Guyanese poor people, at least half of the population, want the PPP to be gone. Most Guyanese, regardless of party, want cash transfer. What you still listening to here, brother Nigel? I mean, you got to go around and meet people and hear from people. I'm not saying something is wrong with it, but Nigel, you can't use that to hold up the thing. Although Jack Joe said the election is in November, remember the PPP got the authority, the power to call the election tomorrow if they want to. And if they call the election tomorrow, we're going to be still listening and grounding. what I'm saying it comradely. Yeah, I ain't picking fight with Nigel. I love Nigel. I ain't picking fight with Aubrey. I love Aubrey, and I think we are better going in this thing together. So I ain't really. It's a brotherly criticism. It's a brotherly criticism. If the people call the election tomorrow, we gonna still be listening and grounding, and then we gonna be scrambling. Unless the AFC is going by itself, if the AFC going by itself to create a minority government, and the minority government is, let's say the AFC go by itself, and the WPA and PNC go together, and the PPP go, and you create a minority government. If the minority government is a PNC WPA government, I don't have a problem with that. But if you're creating a minority government, it's going to be a PPP government, you're defeating the purpose. That is why I'm not taking with that minority government story. We had a minority government in 2015. It didn't work. And I know there is bad blood from the coalition 2015-2020. Who better to say than me? I think one of the biggest mistakes of the coalition was its mismanagement of the coalition. Its mismanagement of the coalition. I think that more than anything else helped to bring our government down. So I know there is bad blood, but you have to look forward. You have to look on the brighter side. You have to say, are we going to go back with this PPP, this murderous PPP, or are we going to take a chance with a coalition, however shaky it may be? And I prepare to go with a shaky coalition than a one-party dictatorship. I prefer a shaky coalition. People say all the time, David, the PNC gonna caca you again. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. This time, we intend to make it harder to cack we. Even if we gotta wear 40 bucks, we make it harder to cack we. Cacking in politics, that should not be a reason for us not to get our act together. Big parties will always try to cack small parties. And small parties will always try to get more than they deserve. That is the reality of coalition politics. But we have to depend on the leaders to use their wits and their political acumen to get it right. And I think while Granger and them may have gotten it wrong back then, I think with Aubrey Norton and Nigel Hughes, and if they want to bring in people like myself and so on, I think we can get it right. I think we can learn from the mistakes of 2015, 2020. The experience of 2015, 2020 should not deter us from a coalition. The chances of winning with a coalition of parties is much higher than the chances of winning as individual parties. Let me say that again. I ain't doubting that the PNC can't win on its own. I ain't doubting. But I'm saying the chances of the PNC winning on its own is much less than if the PNC go in with other parties. That's what I'm saying. If the PNC says that it can win on its own, you have to believe them. It's a big party. It's a big party. But I am saying, and I think this is what I'm hearing from Norton, that yes, I can win, but the chances of winning when we're all together is bigger. So, Nigel, hurry up with your listening and grounding. Hurry up, we're waiting on you. Because that what the man do that today is a campaign speech the man give. The PPP launched their campaign in the National Assembly. And they intend to take our ideas and to manipulate our ideas. We have to take our ideas and advance them in a serious way. Advance them in a serious way. Sisters and brothers, we are in serious times. And I say that again. We are in serious times. That the PPP is about to thief our ideas and to use it in a certain way is an admission that our ideas are superior. Free tuition at UG. Superior idea. Nobody should be earning $100,000 in Guyana. Superior idea. The people should be given money directly from the oil coffers. Superior idea. The PPP is admitting that our ideas are superior. And they've taken the ideas and they're coming off the block before we. I think the news of today is that we are on solid ground. What the Christians stand on this solid rock I stand. All of the rock is sinking sand. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All of the rock is sinking sand. We are on solid ground, but we got to solidify the ground. We got to solidify the ground. So, here is the story. Do not go around and throw away the PPP cash transfer because we cash transfer. But we got to let the PPP know, first of all, it's not them own, it's we own. And second, they intend to use we ideas to play tricks on we. And we don't spot them already. We don't spot them. We are saying, Ali, carry your cash transfer proposal to the National Assembly and pass a law. Call it the Clive Thomas Cash Transfer Act. Pass it. And once it becomes law, there is more guarantee that it will be distributed fairly. The fact that it is not part of law opens the door for discrimination in the distribution. Second, $200,000 not ready yet. It's not ready yet. 11 billion barrels of oil we get. They say, that's what Exxon say. The experts are saying it's close to 30 billion barrel oil. So we have the capacity. We have the capacity to do more than $200,000. $200,000 is not no big money in today's market there. So we are saying, make it law. Second, do a feasibility study and come to the right money. Do a study, do an income, not income, well, yes, income and poverty study. And come up with the number. That number, you pull it off the top of your head. Do a study. And then sit down, let everybody sit down and decide what is the best approach arising out of the study. So although we in the WPA are saying, give it to each household, and we are saying that it should be conditional, that it should go hand in hand with school attendance, it should go hand in hand with sending your children to clinic. So we are not about handouts. And the objective is to decrease poverty, and if possible, in the long run, to alleviate poverty. That is the objective. The objective is poverty. Our poverty rate right now is, from 42 to 50%, anywhere there. I'm looking at the numbers, the different agencies. So, sisters and brothers, we are running out of time in terms of getting our act together. And we have to create our own news about today. It's a victory for us. The PPP stole or is attempting to steal our proposal in front of our very faces, but we are not allowing them to do so. We are not allowing. Those proposals are our proposal. Like I said, the proposal that nobody should be earning less than $100,000, that is PNC proposal. To some extent, a WPA proposal, because we're proposing a universal basic income. Cash transfer, our proposal. Free university tuition, PNC proposal, go back in Burnham. So there is nothing there that the PPP put on the table that belongs to the PPP in terms of original ideas. Those are the opposition ideas. And you almost not give it up. You almost say, we win. We win this first round because you all recognize that we ideas are superior. Are you hearing me? Our ideas are superior. That is why the PPP go to the National Assembly, launch the election campaign with we ideas. We ideas. We now got to take we ideas and lay them out in the right way and get ready to rumble. Get ready to rumble. So we are here. Look, this situation is tough, but we gonna win. Tonight I really intended to talk about this whole thing about Burnham this and Burnham that and so on and so forth. And I wanted to go through clinically because I was there fighting against Burnham. And I knew what I was fighting against. And some of the things I was fighting against, the PPP doing it right now. Some things that Burnham dare not do, the PPP doing now. My name, Rafi Dev tell me, oh, David, you tell your all supporters to undermine the government and they must moderate. I do worse than that to Burnham. I do worse than that to Burnham. I do worse than saying undermine Burnham. We did worse than that. And when we were doing it, where was Ravi Dev to tell we moderate? No. You're cheering me on. But now we doing the same thing to a government that looked like you. We must moderate. As I said last night and the night before, people like Rafi Dev and some of the PPP people who telling Indian people that people like David Hines is racist. The Burnham that they just talk about, when Burnham firing on their ass, they run and hide. They run and hide in Freedom House and wherever they were hiding. From Jack and come right down. And the David Hines of the world weren't hiding. We were out there facing it. And who benefited from it? All of Guyana, in particular, Indian people. Because Indian people get to vote their own people into power because of our fight, our strength. And you all get the nerve to telling people that we are racist. Burnham used to meet with the union. He never used to give them all of what they want, but he used to meet with them. Them this not meet with union. Them this not meet with union. I heard I heard what's his name last night on Freddie Kissoon show, James Bond. And they tell James Bond, oh, PPP, PNC rig election from 68 to 92. And James Bond tell them, no. The PNC got the most votes. Who said a rig? And James is right. I understand why PNC people will not admit that there was any rigging, because the PPP and the acolytes saw rigging in 2020 is there. People vote who are supposed to vote. They're not in the country. And then calling the rigging, they're silencing it. Why should a PNC person admit to rigging from 68 to 92? I understand it. I understand it. The PNC must apologize. But the PPP must not apologize for doing the same damn thing, rigging. The PNC control Chronicle, the PPP controlling Chronicle, and NCN. They got nothing Burnham did that them crooks this and doing. There was corruption under the PNC. There is million times corruption under the PPP. Anything you can do, I can do it better. I think it was Alton Ellis listening that. Anything you can do, I can do. They make Burnham look small. And then they still go around and telling people that Burnham is a hated man. I know I fight against Burnham. And the things I'm fighting against Burnham, the PPP doing some of those things and more, and more, and more, and more. Burnham never fight teachers the way the PPP fight teachers. There was political assassination under Burnham. There are 10 times more political assassination under the PPP. Till now, they can't say, well, who killed Grammy Ring? Who killed them by Linden? Who killed by Dartmouth? Or in Boston? Who killed them little by number 5? Them Henry by. Who killed Ronald Waddle? And we can go, who killed 400 young black men? Burnham didn't kill 400 Indian young men. The things them that the PPP doing to black people, Burnham never did 1/10 of that to Indian people. There's a Burnham take away flour from them and split peas. Well, black people just use split peas for make split pea soup. So you take away from them too. Black people just use flour for make things other than roti. If Indian people use them for make roti, black people use them for make duff and dumpling and pillowy and all them things. So Burnham take away flour from all of it. All of it. But they claim that Burnham take away flour from them and he take away split peas from them. Well, Burnham take away flour and split peas from them. The PPP take away everything. They take away livelihood from teachers and public servants. How will you like that? And they sit down over there and pretend that they're holier than thou. They're holier than thou. They are not. They're a bunch of rascals. They got some good one in between them. Some of them are my friend. Them old-time PPP. You know, as much as Ramatar and Roy and them just go along with them, crook them this, they're a little different. They're different. You know, there are certain things I cannot see Roy and Ramatar getting into. But, you know, they're PPP and they're going along with the little crook them. Because they want to defend the name of the party. I understand that. Racist. They call him people racist. Jack don't know what a jail cell look like. He don't know. If an Ali didn't know, all this Burnham do them bad. Well, Burnham never jail them. One them get a little touch up. One them, Moses Nagamutu and one them get touch up. But then they didn't spend no big time in jail. Burnham never used to even worry with them. Because they weren't fighting. They were run away. They run away. And what they don't tell Indian people is that Jagan was prepared to serve as prime minister under Burnham's presidency. Going back to 1962 proposal that he put forward, he was prepared to serve as deputy prime minister under Burnham. In 1977 National Patriotic Act, he was prepared to serve as prime minister under Burnham. In 1985 on the Motherland proposal that Burnham did and I scrap, Jagan was prepared. So if Burnham was all this bad, old Saint Jagan was prepared to serve under him. Oh, we cannot have power sharing with the PNC because you can't trust them. And Jagan they trust Burnham enough to want to serve as prime minister. And are you damn liar, son of... That's why when me say, my auntie said me school, I don't understand why they just vex. Because they want us to be dunces and not to be not to be here to talk the truth. If Burnham was that bad, how come Jagan they want to serve as the prime minister and the... But now they got power in their hand. Oh, we have to have trust first. This PPP has to go. That's the first step to normalcy. The PPP has to go. Like I said last night and the night before, I have no guarantee that the government that will replace them will be a perfect government. I don't even have any guarantee that it will be a good government, but rather take my chance with them. I rather take my chance with the present opposition in government than the PPP. I rather take my chance with them. What I see under this PPP, I don't want to see one more year of it. One more year of it. So sisters and brothers, we got toughen up. Sometimes I find we too weaky. We got toughen up. Tough. I'm glad that them parliamentarians come out and take a little fresh air today and pick it and make little noise. They should be doing more of that. They should be doing more of that. They should be doing more of that. When someone is saying since $200,000 per household is costing $60 billion, it implies 300,000 households. Need a breakdown of the figure by region and the electoral district, yes? If they say $60 billion and it's 200,000 per household, then it's 300,000 household. And so far as Winston, so far as I know, the household is somewhere between 210 and 230. I think that's the last figure I see. So that's what talking about it. They already start to rig the number. They already start to rig the number of households. They already start to rig the number of households. You see, that's why I said it's them economists like Winston Jordan and them from the opposition that sit down. That's why Nigeria look have to stop listening and grounding. We got work to do. We got work to do. It's good to go around and meet people. I'm not saying to stop it. Go around and meet people. But that should not be the substitute for us to start our work. Yes, Marlene, you said tell Nigel. I love Nigel, you all know that. But I think he get this little wrong. he get this wrong. He this listening thing, Nigel. And playing hold me, lose me. This hold me, lose me story. Then people can call an election for March and catch you grounded and listening. No, I love Nigel. I think he's making a tactical error. I think it's a tactical error. I understand what they're doing. But it's a tactical error. It's a tactical error. And what the PPP did in the National Assembly today shows as a technical error. So, sisters and brothers, there we are. Are we there, Panam? But I think we can see this through. I think we can see it through. We've got to do the serious work. And some of you all just say, talking, we talk too much, Ideas matter. The world moves on ideas. Action flows from idea. Ideas arise out of action, and action flows from idea. You can't have action without ideas. What you fight for? What are we fighting for? What are we fighting with? There we go. Love, as always. And I'll be back tomorrow night to expand this conversation. Thank you all for coming out on your great numbers tonight. Until tomorrow night.